on what you know now, sorry, Chaz, what would you do differently next time around? And
Yeah.
that's in life.
Well, the basis of that question, it might be rooted in regret. So I want to make sure your listener isn't listening for regrets, that they're listening for adjustments, because reflecting and making adjustments is part of the game. As I've grown, I've realized that communication, courage, eye contact, being able to define what I want and go after it. Some of the like basic success principles are just really that important. I've got a book that I recommend that I think you're going to ask here in a second. So I'll hang it. Basic success principles, quote unquote, are like way underrated. Most people read through certain books and it's like, oh, I read that. And I'm like, but do you know what chapter 4 says? Do you know what chapter 11 is? Because there's some crazy stuff in chapter 11. And they're like, well, what do you mean? You just read it to check the box? I read it and I studied it because I've read it over 40 times or whatever the scenario is. And I'm not saying there's just one book, but when you read success principles, are you reading persistence as like, oh, I got to persist? It's like, no. Whoa. Yeah. What does it mean to actually believe or actually to have persistence or to actually, have a high level of communication and be able to speak clearly and articulate like some of these basic things,
Yeah. I have a friend in business who he cuts out the chapters of the book with a Stanley knife or with a sharp knife. So he just keeps on taking the chapters out of the book. Always goes hardback or soft copy, rips it out, and then he has a little shelf in his toilet when he's sitting down on the toilet.
Love it.
Yeah, because exactly to your point, sometimes it takes a while to sort of sink in exactly 100%. Principles of what some of these books are saying, and you kind of sometimes you feel you come to the end of the book and I read that book, but like to your point, like there's some deep stuff in there if you actually just digest it and sort of like and maybe it is sitting down on the toilet.
Yeah, in whatever circumstance it is for you. What we're talking about is mastery, right? So to answer your question more directly, what I would do maybe differently is I would just focus on self-mastery earlier. I was already like pretty focused on personal development, but I would just focus on, rather than like learning or gaining knowledge or like kind of checking the box like we've discussed, I would focus on mastering. I'd master my mind, I'd master my behaviors, I'd master my, self-control, like, all these things that could be fruits of the spirit / personal development. It's like, that's the game,